Hi, Tara and Sophie. How are you doing?
Hi, Steve. How are you doing? I'm good.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
So yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, good. Yeah, perfect. So, yeah, thank you for your time. It's just going to be like a kind of casual chat, really. I try not to make it too formal. Sophie, I know you listened to the one I did with Oleg before, so it was kind of like more of a chat about art and you know bits and pieces around that and our own life experiences and stuff. So whereabouts are you both? You both in the same area then, or you different places?
Yeah. I'm just outside of Paris, but Tara, you're based in Paris itself.
Yeah.
So around Paris. You're around London, aren't you?
I'm between London and Bristol, a place called Swindon. I doubt if you've heard it 'cause it's not the most exotic town.
Actually, I have. Yeah, I've never been there, but I have heard of it.
Oh, you have? Okay. Yeah, it's got a lot of history with the railways, but that's about it. It's not quite as cool as London. I did live in London for about 10 years, so that was a good experience. Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to ask you both how you both got into art, really, because I know a lot of people is from childhood, isn't it? Just the kind of interest we get into. But yeah, to both of you, whoever wants to answer first.
Do you want to go first? I can go first. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, as you said, Steve, yeah, for me, it's definitely childhood. I mean, art is in my blood, if I can say that. Especially on my mother's side, my uncle is an artist. He paints. My aunt paints. She also does a lot of work with like fabrics, lampshades, all stuff like that. They're very creative. And my mom collected decorative art pieces. So yeah, I grew up with art. And also, since we were very small, my sister and I used to go to museums quite a lot. My mom took us to museums. We did these children workshops. And I loved it. And I also had the chance to do art classes and history of art classes when I was growing up. And I learned how to paint and sculpt and draw, use Chinese ink, all that kind of stuff. And I just continued painting. There was only one time when I stopped, and that was when I was studying at university. Because usually when you study, there's these tiny places where there's just not enough space. Because when you do art, you need so much material that it gets messy. So I just stopped. But thanks to quarantine, maybe one of the few positive outcomes of the quarantine was that I had to go back to my parents' house and I just painted again. And I think compared to what I did before, I really found my style, I think.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Oh, that's me. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I've seen some of your stuff on Instagram. It's very beautiful.
Thank you.
We can talk about that in a bit. Yeah. Tara, what about you? How did you get into it then?
I mean, it's an interesting question. I think it's a bit controversial. Like, I got into it as well from childhood. I would say, like, for me, it was more due to trauma. You know, like kids, when there's something happens, like it's easier to respond with creativity. And for me, I just kind of responded with art because it was too horrible, everything that was around me. So I was constantly drawing, constantly doing this. But I was also really lucky because, you know, you can have talent or desire to do art and it's not cultivated. And my parents did see that I was drawing a lot, and they did put me in classes when I was very young, when I was like 5 or 6 years old. And, you know, they continued until today, basically. And so I think the more tricky part of like how we come to do art today, it's also like, or how we are able to continue and create continuity in the path. Like that's really tough. That's a hard one.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's what I wanted to ask you. So I noticed on your website, like a few of your pieces were mental health related. So is it kind of a expression in that respect? Because I'm interested in that side of things as well from my own experiences, but I won't go into my story. So is it all right if you say a bit more about the more recent work and stuff where you've been discussing mental health?
Yeah. It was actually a surprise for myself because I started to talk about mental health when I submitted work for an exhibition in Australia that I did not get about mental illness, and the exhibition was about they wanted artists to present work that was talking about mental illness, but bringing it in with humor. And it forced me to work on that. And I realized very quickly that all of my work already tended to go towards that, because there is a part, I believe, when anyone does art, that mixes with our own personal experience of life, right? So like my own personal experience of life has a lot of trauma, has to do with mental illness up until now. And so it shows in my art. But afterwards, after that exhibition that I did not get, especially, I made the choice, which is a bit different. I made the choice to start exploring what it meant to talk about mental illness artistically. And so like when I made that choice, the intention being there, it made the whole process very conscious, and it makes it not only just from my own experience, but it brings in a lot of references of other artists that work on mental illness and memory that I can't cite because I don't remember their name right now. But I know there's a lot of people who work on that actually. And I discover some people that work on that every day. And so the question becomes, how can I innovate in this sector? How can I innovate in making art that talks about broken memories, that talks about trauma, that talks about mental illness? And how can that help the world to move forward in a positive direction? And so like there's kind of this more intellectual research, theoretical research that comes in before the more practical and artistic, and as Sophie was saying, very hands-on result that gets produced. And I guess that's what the process is at the moment, is how do we put that into a collection of couture clothing? How do I want to create pieces of art that people will have in their homes about this? How do I want to create a whole exhibition that will talk about this? And so it's these kind of questions that I'm trying to answer at the moment, and it goes through a lot of experimentation, and we'll see what happens. So like for now, there are just more and more pieces that kind of talk about that and about other things as well.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful you're doing that. I know it's quite a hard thing to share publicly, and it's quite a vulnerable thing to do, isn't it? But it's not only cathartic for the artist, it's also, hopefully it helps other people as well.
I mean, art is vulnerable.
Yeah.
To me, both for the viewer and the artist. For me, it's very vulnerable, the whole thing,
Yeah.
But ultimately, Tara, we had so many conversations about this since we've worked together, but it's ultimately about helping people to heal. And that's also one of the things that attracted me to your work. And right now, we're working on a performance that's going to happen very soon. It's on eating disorders, which also is a very difficult theme to talk about. And we're still struggling about how you're going to do this.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I completely, I forgot for a minute about this performance.
We have so many projects going on. You have
I was more focused on the fashion show, but you're right. This performance that we've been preparing, we're waiting to see if the public responds kind of to the invitation, and then see if it happens or not. But it's interesting because it's that's typically something where I wanted to talk about my own experience. And then I realized that in the arts, there's also, there's the work, the quality of the work. So I have to ask myself, is it improvised? Why is it improvised? What is the structure of the performance? Because each performance has a structure, and it becomes soon very closer to kind of an educational project, like something that you need to be educated about. And so it's a lot of research, and the goal, is to help people. And I think one of the first steps is creating awareness. When I have awareness, then it allows me to have identification. And I guess I just want to do that with that performance, seeing what it brings in people. But it's really hard because not everyone responds well to that topic in particular.
Mm. So what kind of performance have you planned then? Or was it top secret at the moment?
No, it's not top secret at all. I'm actually very open about like my work. I don't mind sharing. I have a lot of ideas, and I think part of it will, be spontaneous because my performances are usually like that. Part of it is spontaneous. Part of it is also inviting the public to be part of the performance. And so there's this whole section of the performance that I want the public to surprise me and to kind of invent the performance with me in the moment. But the projection that I'm thinking is doing some kind of very just graphic work with different foods. And so like that's very visual, like it brings very visual kind of connotations in people's minds. And I think just this thing of playing with the food is for me what I have experienced with an eating disorder is like, when we say to kids, don't play with the food, like to me, that's super silly because when I restrict myself or indulge in binging or whatever and obsess about the food, that's how I play with it. That's how I play with my life instead of focusing on my life and instead of facing my feelings. I translate them within that ritualistic process. And so I just wanted something very graphic and then maybe invite people to, on their own home because it would be on Zoom to either dance with me, to have a food dance with me, or maybe they have questions and I answer them without speaking, like it can be a lot of things, but that's kind of the foundation of my thoughts about this. I think the performance, I'm always feeling when I do performance that the performance guides me more than I guide the performance. So I just have a lot of trust in that process. And so I think it will be a surprise partly for myself as well.
Exciting. I look forward to seeing how that unfolds then. I was going to say, I haven't started sharing through my artwork more of my personal stuff, but I am trying. I say I'm trying to. I will be. And there's just one brief example of something I drew a couple of weeks ago. It's on my Instagram. It's like I can't really say I'm related to eating disorder, but I have been overweight. So it's funny with labels, isn't it? In a way, it is. I have a relationship with food where it comforts me, and I overeat, basically. And I
relate to that so hard. I just want you to know you're not alone because I do that too.
Thank you.
Same here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going off on a tangent a little bit, but I was talking to my wife about generally you associate eating disorders and with people with anorexia who might be, or bulimia, who might be really skinny or something, but as someone who's overweight, it's almost like it's brushed aside. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying any one side is worse or better, but it feels to me if you're overweight and fat, people kind of judge you like.
But it's as serious both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it makes you feel worse because people not actually take you seriously about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So getting to my point, I drew it when I was at my heaviest weight a couple of years ago. I posted a picture of myself online. I was just in my underwear, which is quite vulnerable anyway. I just wanted to post it up like a before picture so I could get some encouragement to lose weight. And then most of the people were really encouraging. And then there's one girl on there who just wrote EW. That was it, 2 letters. And it just sat with me. It just stuck in my mind for ages. So recently I drew this on a A3 piece of paper as a kind of illustration piece. And it's weird. It's been in my head all that time. When it's on the piece of paper, you just kind of see it for what it is. And it's really cathartic, isn't it? As you know.
It allows you to take a step back and just...
Yeah. And I kind of laugh at it as well, because I'm thinking, why am I letting this random person affect me? I don't know her. She doesn't know me. She's just judging me for my appearance, and that's her own problem. So yeah, that's what I mean. I'm starting to do that more. Before I was just kind of I was doing a lot of portraits, and yeah, I want to dig a bit deeper and do more personal things. So thank you for sharing what you're up to. It has inspired me to dig a bit deeper and see how I can do a bit more with that.
No.
Yeah, so yeah, I was going to ask you, Sophie, you said, I think you said on your Instagram, you love traveling as your kind of second favorite thing after art. So where is the most like inspiring place you visited?
I've been thinking about that because as a family, we travel a lot. My mom is Scottish and my father's Lebanese, so we're kind of multicultural and we love traveling. We always go back to the same places. Yeah. And I studied in Scotland for 2 years. And really, I mean, it's not just because my mom is Scottish, obviously, but I think I would say my favorite place that I ever traveled to is Scotland, especially the west part. When in 2018, I did like a little tour with a very dear friend of mine, a 5-day tour, just 5 days. But it was just breathtaking, the landscapes there. It's not just what you see, because we had the most amazing guide and he told us all these amazing stories about clan disputes and wars and myths about witches and wizards, and all these myths and stories had happened or were within the landscape. So you kind of feel closer to the land. And ultimately, I found it even more beautiful. And I took so many pictures. And yeah, ultimately, actually, when I take pictures, I like to get inspired from them to paint. And I'm working on a painting right now that takes inspirations from these pictures, sorry. But I really need to go back because it's a gorgeous place, really gorgeous place. So yeah, I can't really say which one is my biggest passion. I think I like to merge both travel and painting or art in general. One big passion.
Yeah, like you said, you get a lot of inspiration for like soaking up different cultures and places anyway. So it's kind of all one and the same thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Which is why quarantine is making it so difficult, because you can't move. So, I mean, thank goodness we can just look outside our window and it might snow tomorrow, which actually makes I might take pictures and stuff, but it's just difficult when you're used to just going to different places and meeting different people to find inspiration. Which is why I'm kind of ramaged toward like my old pictures, but it's not the same. But it'll do for now.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it will go back to normal fairly soon, by summer, hopefully. Let's see. Yeah. What about you, Tara? Have you always lived in Paris or?
No. Not at all. It's actually a question I dread. Every time someone is like, have you traveled? They're like, where are you from? I just lose my mind because I'm Persian, Aussie, American, French, and Brazilian. And I just grew up like between Paris and LA, and I travel to like literally, I mean, so many countries I can't even like. I think it's easier for me to tell you where I haven't been because like, it's like, I'm serious. So I have not been to all of Africa. I have been to northern parts. I haven't been to Australia. I have not been to Asia, actually. And I haven't been to Russia. So that answers it. I've been to the rest pretty much. I have some countries obviously to explore still, and I would love to go back, but I have had a life where I've lived in different places all of my life, and I've also traveled a lot. So,
and especially with the exhibitions you're going to do, like
yeah.
There was one was to do in South Korea. No,
but that was complicated. That's past. That was actually really complicated, and it got a bit effed up with the COVID situation. And I mean, that was like a bit bad. But the traveling with the exhibition is very interesting because it really merges, my love, actually, like you said, the love for travel and art in a way that like it really makes me feel like this is what I was born for, versus like the other part of traveling was very much more experiential and more about becoming another person in another life, really, like in another context, having like this experience where, okay, I'm in America, I'm American, I'm in Berlin, I'm German. Like, it's like having all these different experiences, and it feels like an array of different lives. So it's very different, both the two types of traveling for me.
Yeah. So have you got any travel opportunities this year with your exhibitions and stuff?
I mean, I actually have an exhibition, a solo in London, but we pushed it back because of the COVID situation, so we're waiting. But whenever that's going to get sorted out, it should get fixed, the date and everything, and I should be able to travel to London. But for now, everything is closed here. So the next travel opportunity is my vacation in like July, but we'll see what happens, because honestly, right now, everything is so closed. And at the same time, I think we are so lucky to have technology and an online-based life where we can actually like travel in different ways, right? Like right now we're having a podcast with you and Sophie, and we're all in different places, and we all see different things in our surroundings, yet we're here and talking together and having this common experience. So I think that's pretty amazing in terms of traveling.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely something I think we normally take for granted, but in the past year, it's kind of, speaking for myself, I'm a lot more grateful for the technology, because if it happened 20 years ago, it'd be a very different situation, wouldn't it? So, Tara, what can you say a bit more about this London exhibition then, or was it?
Yeah, I mean, I can say more. I want to make clear that for now, everything is frozen, so don't get your hopes up. Like, it's just a project that has been frozen in the middle of it. But basically, I was super lucky a while ago. I think it was in 2019, and that seems like a million years ago now, where I exhibited, and it was a collective exhibition called The Death of Art in London. And it was with the curators, We Are Sweet Art. And I really loved their curating work, and I was just, hoping for them to help me find other curators, because I was trying to create this solo show about mental illness, and more specifically, actually about immigration trauma, and what is that? What happens with this when the process of the mind, how it's influenced and impacted by immigration trauma, but especially like not the first generation, mostly the second one. So the second wave. So for example, my parents left Iran. I'm the second wave. I was born like in France. However, I'm still splitted between super multicultural. And so how does that impact identity? How it creates mental illness as well, and studying different cases as well. And I think there's a lot of that in the United States with kids, for example, that were born in the United States in a family that speaks Spanish, from any country, that's in South America that speaks Spanish, and they feel American within a Spanish speaking community, but at the same time, they're not accepted as such. It's just like this really weird in between, right? And when I talk to people and I say, I'm from LA, they say, oh, really? But you have such a weird accent, or like they say, oh, but where were you born? Oh, but what's your passport? And it's just like, it's not that simple,
They have to put you in a box, which is weird.
Yeah, but it's also, I think it's a lot of just lacking information. So this exhibition in London is like, the goal is to put all this information there and to start a conversation about something that I don't see a lot of people talking about. I was even talking to my therapist, and I was like, hey, do you know other therapists that specialize in immigration trauma, like and that type of trauma, because it's like a PTSD situation, but it's not like veterans, and there is very little information online. So it's just kind of trying to change that. And the first step for me is just like, can we create a space that is interactive and with information, but that's also artistic, and that will question a lot of beliefs for people from any kind of background to enter in there and have an experience and come out with questions, come out with anger, come out and disagree, come out and maybe identify. So that was the goal of the exhibition in London. I really hope it happens, because I think it would be a great experience for me. It would be a great experience for other people, and to just kind of collectively decide how can we make this happen, how can we heal this, because it's like this wound in like a global society.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'll definitely be there. I'll keep an eye out.
I'll definitely invite you, no worries.
Thank you. So Sophie, where do you see yourself going then, like in the next 5 years or so? Would you like to have your own exhibitions and stuff, or are you kind of going with the flow a bit at the moment? Or
it's tricky to see in the future of it. I mean,
yeah,
the good thing about working in the art world is you don't necessarily need to have one plan. You can just move and have different options. We're working right now with Tara, and really like we've come a long way in the last few months. I think
yeah,
really tough.
And it's thanks to you, Sophie. Like, you're an anchor. I want you to know that you're an anchor in this company. Like, I need you. Like,
stop it. It's all thanks to you. So working for the Tara company and making it really like the visibility. We had a little bit of visibility, but just improve that and just stop.
So much better now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's that, but also, I would love, even right now, I'm sometimes working a gallery a little bit part-time. It's going to finish now, but I did some like that a bit before. I'd like to work in a museum, maybe in a conservation department, also in an auction house. Ultimately, maybe in like more than like 5 years, maybe 10 or 15, like to open my own gallery, maybe. But as far as my art goes,
you would be so good at that, Sophie. I'm just saying.
Thanks.
You would be so. That sounds like it's like made for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I can see you do that like easy. Yeah. You should do it.
Yeah, that means like work within the oval, but not be an artist per se. I don't think it's something I could do. Because I get so attached to my art, I just don't. I spend so much time. I don't want to sell it, because when you attach the commercial aspect to it, I feel like it loses value for me, at least. Which is why I talked a little bit with Tara about this. But I'm
finding the Ivy degree so hard, but
I know. It's different outlooks, but that's what I'm thinking. I've been working for the last 2 months about like maybe creating a little printing business, not like selling prints of my art. And I'm really close to kind of perfecting the whole thing and maybe like putting it out there. But if it works, it would be great. And maybe in 5 years, maybe it could be a big thing. But at least I just like the experience of knowing how it works and creating a business and things like. I'm already doing that with you, Tara, but it's a different business to like create your own thing from scratch and have to figure out what paper you want to use and how you want to send it and how you want to do it. So yeah, it's very tricky, very, very tricky. But yeah, in this situation, it's good to do something different.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I look forward to listening to this podcast in 15 years' time when you've got your own gallery. That'll be brilliant.
Gosh, yeah.
Or even less time, in fact. I don't think it'll take you that long.
We'll see, because I have worked in a gallery before, and everyone always tells me that it takes like 10 years to build the contacts and another 5-10 years to build the finances. But it depends on what type of gallery you want to run, where you want to run it, and how you do business, for sure. So it could take less time. That would be amazing.
prove everyone wrong. Just do it in 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. So I can exhibit your art as well, Tara. Hopefully,
I hope so.
we collaborate together.
That'd be great.
By then, it'll be selling for hundreds of millions. And
It's funny because we had this conversation with another business contact that we were talking about that person that buys art for like 500,000. And I was like, yes, please buy my art. I will sell it to you for that price, like. But not, not because it's like I want money. It's not that. Like that's also why, like for me, I think art is meant to be seen, which is why I really like the commercial part of art. And also it's not to discredit someone that wants to buy art with their money. It's more like I think money is very spiritual, and so it's a very intense spiritual exchange.
Yeah,
I mean it in that way. Just wanted to clarify that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I feel the same. I respect money a lot more. Like before, I'd be embarrassed to ask people for money for my artwork. I would just say, "Oh, just pay me whatever you want," and then probably 7 times out of 10 they wouldn't pay anything. So they didn't value it, and I didn't value myself. So it's a lesson learned. So yeah, definitely. Have you guys heard of like crypto art at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, did we hear about it on that call that I was referring to actually? But I need to do more research about that. I can't talk about this because I don't have information,
I don't really. I've been looking into it and I've bought my first couple of pieces, and I'll send you some links afterwards. There's a website called OpenSea, OPENSEA. I think it's .org or .io or something. And there's a lot of people selling art on there. And the good thing about having it on the blockchain is you can actually prove who the artist is. I know you have like proof of ownership with artworks and stuff, but it's all digital. So you could do a one-off piece of art for a certain amount of money, or you could do editions if you wanted to. You could do like 100 editions of a piece. It's all digital. So it's all very new. I think it's only been around like a couple of years. Yeah, I think
that's incredible. Yeah. I need to look into that.
I'll send you the details. There's just, I think people are starting to twig onto it. It's a very new thing, and people are trying to figure out how it's going to work. But I can see the potential in it, definitely. And there's another way you could use it. Like a colleague of mine, he was showing me, if you buy an expensive piece of artwork, you need like I said, the certificate that goes with it. You could have this. Yeah. You could have this certificate on the blockchain instead, so you can never lose it. You can't like lose it in the laundry or the dry cleaners or something. It's always on your digital wallet. So it'd basically be like maybe a scanned-in version of the actual document, and then when you sell it to someone else, then that passes on. And it's got like the trail from where it goes afterwards. So it's got like a transaction trail. So if you think in like 100 years' time, this art has traveled all over the world, you can see who's owned it. It's pretty fascinating.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually a really good thing if you're thinking about museums or collections and stuff. It used to take us people ages to retrace the history of these pieces, and now it's just going to be so much easier.
Yeah, definitely recommend looking into it. I don't think I have any more questions. I feel like asking you if you want to ask me anything, but I don't feel like you have to.
No, but actually I wanted to ask you about, because I looked on your website and you have an exhibition that's in the works right now, and I wanted to ask you about it. Because I saw you have like on the website, there's like your artwork, which is amazing, where I see most of your portrait art, and then like a little bit about yourself and the CV and your exhibition.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a group one. It's my very first one actually. It's I applied to it a couple of months ago, and it's based on the art. There's a gallery in Berlin called the Lighthouse Gallery, and they're working with Artaviso. Can't pronounce it. Artaviso. And what they did is scan in this 1950s encyclopedia. So everyone gets a reference sheet from that, and I had like a reference sheet about monkeys in it. It's just like like you get these old encyclopedias, which before the internet just had all the information about everything in it. So it's basically a prompt to recreate that. So what I did was I drew a picture of a gorilla sticking his fingers up, sticking his middle finger up, because basically in the original encyclopedia it said how monkeys are so alike to humans, and I was making the point that they might be physically, but humans treat other people and the planet a lot worse than monkeys do. So I was kind of explaining that the monkey is sticking his finger up to humans and saying, I'm nothing like you, basically.
Yeah.
There's a bit of humour to it, but it's quite a serious issue, that obviously how much pain humans cause each other, and I don't need to go through the list. What some humans can be like, and it's, if you look at a species like monkeys, they live in relative tranquility, and they don't go around killing people or ruining the planet. So I kind of come up with that from the kind of trivial piece in the encyclopedia. So that's going to be shown on the digital gallery exhibition first of all, and then in Berlin in September. So it'd be nice to go over there for that. I haven't been to Berlin for probably about 10 years.
Yeah, it's a lovely city. So
yeah,
gorgeous.
Yeah, so that's my first one. So I'm just building things up. Just the website you were looking at, I've literally just finished that.
Wow.
I was archiving all my work because I had some advice from a mentor. Just I didn't realise the importance of it, archiving every piece by dates and putting it on the website. It's kind of nice just seeing it all there, because it, as you both probably know, sometimes you can just create loads of stuff and it's all over the place. And it's nice to have kind of
just to see how your art has evolved.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I think I'm good. More questions?
Yeah, I'm good as well. It was a very nice conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it's come to a natural end. Yeah, I booked in an hour, but 40 minutes is fine.
Yeah, I think that's good as well. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you for spending your Saturday night with me.
Well, have a good one then, everyone.
Yeah, you too. Have fun, whatever you're doing.
All right.
Yeah, you too.